I'm very stressed. It's terrible. So I don't do a lot of lecture. I was forced to come here, so I'm here. I don't know if it will work, but I just get a message from my daughter, which is 2 years old, who say good lecture, papa. So.
Tu lui dis bonne conférence, papa.
Bonne conférence, papa.
So I'm one of the two brothers. As you can see, I'm the older one. And Erwan is not here for two reasons. The first is that he's got a daughter 3 days ago, so he's his father. And the second is that we never do lecture together because we more or less fight doing. Our work is really based on a sort of certain tension between him and me, and it's a way of working. So as you can see here, we're a bit of angry, but it's very often like that. So I will try to show 10 years of work, more or less. So you will see a lot of old, very naive projects and some more. Maybe more important, but less light than the first. So it's a mix of different type of project. We are really very interesting in the question of production. So we try to do object. We are very linked to the question of how to do things in real. So there is a lot of products that you will see. As someone tried to call me, I will switch off my phone. Okay. This was the really beginning of our work. At this time I was working alone. Erwan joined me after. Well, this is not a fabulous project, and I don't like it anymore, but it was really inside this project, you can already see the fact that, I can already see, I hope you will see it too, but the fact that the question of doing product in a sort of very direct way, things for IKEA or I don't care who, was already here. So this was a project, a kitchen project. The second one, more or less at the same period, was a very simple system, a sort of vase system. It's two words which don't work very well, but I don't find better. It was linked to 8 pieces that you just clip together, and it creates different type of composal. It was I find a lot of charm inside. There is maybe a lot of mannerism, but I think it was an interesting project. Anyway, the chance that we had is that since the beginning we were Giulio Capellini, which was a very important industrial manufacturer in Italy, very quickly was interested by our work. So we were a very specific career because we never had to go to people. They really came to us very quickly. So we had a lot of chance. This is another project. I don't like it anymore, but it was the beginning of a certain research about space and how to create space inside space. As I said at the beginning, we are really linked to objects. But sometimes in our career we did some interior. The first one was for Issey Miyake, who wanted that we work around a shop. It's a basic shop for clothes. When it came to us, we directly said no because we were not at all interested by doing interior. And at the end, we did the project because we were very, very interested by the idea of knowing a bit more about the technology he was using doing his clothes. It was very special industrial knitting situation. So doing this interior project was a way to enter in detail in this way of doing things. It seems to be old now, but it has 10 years old. It has 10 years, and at this period it was quite new, I think. And it was very long life shop because they just destroyed it last summer, which is quite a lot for a fashion shop, I think. It was in a very nice place in Paris. This was a carpet system, the lamp, a bit ridiculous, but I like. This was another research linked to the question of space, how to build space inside space. So all of these pictures are a bit cold because it's a picture taken in gallery, and but I think there is a certain charm in this project. It was a piece of fabric with inside a plastic frame, from plastic band. And all the pieces were just, how to say, there is a Velcro to link each pieces. Inside you can see a terrible mistake, but it was a very nice project. But the chair which is there was a quite interesting invention. It was a folding chair which was very, very, very thin when it was folding, but the cost was certainly too expensive, so it was an industrial disaster. They didn't sell this product very well, but not well at all, and they were very angry. This is is quite big piece. It's a vase. It's almost 1 meter. It was at this time a research on sort of texture. The name of the vase was Onda, is Onda, because the specific painting we use for the outside was a car painting, and at this time it was really there was a certain density, and inside it was totally the inverse. It was totally matte, so you didn't get. It was like a big hole. Part of our day are very linked to drawings. The fact is that doing object is a very, very frustrating process. It's very, very often years and years between the drawing and a finished product. So we spend a lot of time to draw for drawing, not specially linked to objects. So during these lectures, there will be some drawing which are not really supposed to be linked to an object or another, but it's a part of our work, I think. This was in the same exhibition that the precedent vase. It was quite nice species. It's a vase, so the water is on the bottom. My English is very poor, but and there is a light up, so. It has really a very surprising impact, this light on the flower. The special light that we use was like which are using in museum to light painting. I think it's a quite delicate project. I think we don't not often use this type of word for object, but I think it's very important to have very delicate, light, sometimes sensual project. It's a part of our research actually to try to do. This was a quite interesting piece, I think. You can sing the inverse, but it was a. It was a module of polystyrene that we call cloud, and it was a principle to a system to build wall, but in polystyrene. This is our surprising, or maybe the most successful product. No industrial wanted to no company wanted to produce it, and we inject all the money we had for an exhibition to pay the mold which was able to produce this piece. So it was I don't know 30,000 euro to do a mold for this type of piece. And at the opening of the exhibition, it was clear that this will be a success. We already saw. We saw the. Yeah, sometimes when you are doing something which is really interesting, you can really see in the eyes of the public that something is appearing. So, and here it was clear. I think actually they sold around 5 million pieces of this. So it's a bit of pollution, but so what is very interesting is that it's very popular, but in a lot of different type of contexts, because especially in New York, there is a big wall in the Museum of Modern Art that I don't care at all. But in the street there is a very small sushi restaurant, and they've got some of these pieces which are. I'm more excited by this idea of having it in a sushi place. One of the most we don't have a lot of clients. We don't want to have more. We have a very small team. We don't want to expand it, and we hope that we will do less projects in the future. It's a bit. I think we enter. It's more or less. We enter in the period when we need to do less and to increase the quality of what we do. But one of our most important clients is Vitra, and Vitra is a Swiss company who produce office system. And almost 10 years ago, the owner of Vitra, Mr. Rolf Elbaum, which is someone very important for us, came to the studio and asked us to sing about what an office could be. And we thought that it was a casting error because we never work for nobody. We are five, and to sing about system for 1,000 people in the same room was a bit was a strange casting for us. But we try, and we produce for them a lot of different ideas who had a very, very important success. So this is a drawing, nothing. Well, the picture are not very interesting because it was studio picture, because it's a real project. So it means that there is a lot of terrible buildings which are full of this system. It's a very easy. It's a very easy system. It's just stable with a lot of function, very without mechanics. Something. Well, I need an hour to explain it correctly, but I think it's a good project because all the companies which are doing furniture add a copy of it. So it means that it's a good idea. The problem is that there is some copy which are better than this one, which is. I switch to another gallery situation. We really consider we do some exhibition in gallery which could be a bit inverse of what we thought at the beginning, but it's for us a sort of very easy sketchbook. So we don't care so much when we did error in this situation. At the end, there will be collector who will be buy the pieces, so it's not really a problem. But so we did a lot of tests, a lot of different things. Some are ridiculous and some are better. This was a collection of different this is very interesting because it was just before we did the algae, the mega success piece. We did this one. We did this. We launched the two pieces in the same time, and this one was quite interesting because it produced a very interesting. I think very interesting. I'm the only to sing it. You know, a very interesting way to build a screen, but it never. They stopped the production after a year because it was a disaster. But for example, we did in Milan a very important, very big installation with this piece. It was 60,000 pieces clipped together, which were creating a wall and dividing for an exhibition. This is a dog on a city. It's a very serious drawing. It's not a joke at all. We were younger at this period. It's an old project that we've done for a French manufacturer, which had an incredible machine, a sort of sewing machine, but that can be directly how to say that? Through our computer, we can directly decide of the road of the stitching. So we did a sofa system, so different pieces which were done with this machine. So if we come back to the precedent picture, all the pieces, more or less like a lion skin, was flat, and after that there is just some stitching to finish it. Merde. I'm not very happy because Jürgen Bey, that I like a lot, is sleeping, and and he's very sleeping because he Jürgen, we were speaking about you. This was a quite interesting project, I think. We were asked to... a Danish company came to us because they wanted that we design for them not a shop, but a showroom, sorry. And at the beginning we were really not interesting, but as you saw in the different type of project before, the question of building wall is a question that we try to solve in different ways. This polystyrene piece, this plastic algae, this question of screen is something very important for us in our work. And at the end we said to these clients that yes, we are interested to work around this space if you decide to invest in a research around wall. So we designed a very this is a model of it, so very small pieces that was pressed in foam and textile. So we did a lot of. It's very difficult to imagine, but because all these pictures are very clean. But we've got a very. Our studio is really a research place in which we sew a lot. For example, for my brother's 30th anniversary, I offer him a sewing machine. Everybody was shocked around, but I think he was very happy. It was. We do a lot by yourself, and we are your team, with your team, with our team. So this piece was a very interesting system to create hanging wall, because you have to hang it through on the roof of the room. But and the principle for the door was quite simple. It was just a box that we could place easily. So as I think that we don't have a very perfect sense of space, it was very useful to change a bit the position of the door, or to modify a bit this place was built in a week. It was very, you can like or dislike it, but what was very interesting is that it has very efficient sound effect. It was like entering in a, yes, it was, I think there is a real sensuality in this project. It's on picture, it's not very easy to speak about, to feel that, but it was a sort of very intriguing place. We use it for another project. We did a sort of small restaurant in a museum, which were under a glass roof. So we use this piece this textile piece to create a sort of shadow during the day, and to have an efficient acoustic solution, because the place around was terrible in terms of acoustic and in terms of sun. This was a very, very long project. As I said at the beginning, when we met Issey Miyake, we were very intrigued by this possibility of numerical knitting. So during years and years we searched around this question, and we had an idea was to knit in one piece an armchair. It's complicated to explain, but you see on the surroundings there is it's a tube of textile which is knitting and linked to all the piece. Everything is made in one time. It's quite new, and it's a lot of lightness, but the comfort is very, very surprising. It's very elastic. It's like so. It's always a very interesting challenge to produce comfort with nothing, because basically this is a lot of air. It's a lot of there is some yarn, but there is a lot of nothing. So it's not a very good success. I think it's a bit too big or too expensive. I don't know. This was another wall system for an exhibition. It was a piece of cardboard which was just clipped together. We thought it could be something very interesting for open space, or at the end it not really interest somebody. So this is a floating house. I'd like to be an architect, but I don't think I will be a good one. But we had this very specific project which was a floating house for an art center near Paris. The island which is near was the island where all the Impressionists were working at the end of the 19th century. And so there is an art center, and they invite artists to work, but they had no way to build something for them to live with their family. So they asked us to imagine a house So the restaurant, which is just in front, is really furious to have they have the beautiful view, and we totally ruin it. But it's not our fault, because we wanted to be a bit more far, but it was some technical problem to fix on the. So it was quite interesting, because we had really no money for this project. I don't speak about our invoice, but about yes, to pay the material to build it. So it was built in a place where they are doing boat near the sea, and it was pushed through Paris. And it was designed to be able to go everywhere in Europe, because there is some norms. If you respect a certain length and a certain height, you can go through every bridge and each canal. And so we had a lot of requests after that. Our idea was to be able to reproduce it, but we had a big argument with the engineer working with, and so we decided to stop, and we didn't really reproduce just the thing. Well, it was very interesting, because the level of the floor was almost the level of the water. So it's a very nice place to spend some days or some week. And the problem is that the artists are, I think they are in too good conditions. They don't produce so well. It's they said that in the museum that they were producing better when they had the baddest condition, but I don't know, because they could, yeah. So we spend months and years to try to invent things, and to find the point sometimes, or some question. As I said before, the question of how to divide the space is one of our topic. And this project was very quickly done for a furniture fair. And so it created very easily a sort of room in an open space, in an office situation. And this has an incredible success. I think it's almost nothing. I don't consider it as something marvelous, but it worked very well, I think. This was an incredible investment of time and money for always the same manufacturer, Vitra. Vitra is producing a lot of office chairs. So office chairs are really machines in which you need to have a lot of very complicated way to adjust the armrest, adjust the back, adjust the eye. And a lot of office chairs are really like machines, and they are really ugly. So we wanted to refine a bit, and so it's a very technical project. All the piece of fabric that you see around the seat and the arm, it's a knitted fabric. Just on the arm, it's a stretch knitting yarn, so it means that you can adjust everything, and that the textile just deform itself. The problem is that so there is a machine inside which is covered more or less. The fact is that it costs quite a bit more than a normal machine, and maybe the effect is not. I don't know. It's a terrible result in terms of sale or. This was some other research for textile wall. It's a bit formal, but I think it has something. This I quite absurd light because they are enormous, and, but I like them a lot. I think there is something quite mysterious inside. It's the system is that there is just a cable, so you can turn the light. It just the other part just go on the roof. So there is 3 different types. There is so quite beautiful. It don't work for normal space. It's not the question, but we sometimes do some other things. That was a cover for a New York Times tea, sort of weekend things. This is a very, very modest but interesting project. I think it's a. We try to. It's a chair which is a mix of wood and metal and pressed metal. It was a huge investment to do the machine. Who step after step press metal. Yeah, well, you see it. Huh? And it's a very modest but very. The idea was to try to do a wood and metal chair, so something we will. Stay a long time. It will be very nice when it will be a bit scratched, and because it has the metal and the wood has this quality to stay very to stay or to live in a very interesting way. It's not an enormous success, but I like it. And we did a lot of piece around this idea of piece of wood and pressed metal. So here the pressed metal piece are the junction. It's not really my brother and me. We are not so. Sorry. This was our first plastic chair. Sometimes it's a dream of a designer to do full plastic chair. We did it. This was after the first project that I show you for Quadrat, the first wall system, textile wall system. It was the result of the first place was an incredible success in terms of press. All the magazine everywhere, all the newspaper spoke about this project, but the price of it was incredibly high. So this company had a lot of requests from architects to buy the first project, but it was not very successful because it was really very expensive. So we tried to find a most efficient way to have. So the problem of the first project was that for 1 square meter you need to have 4 square meters of textile because there is both face, but and each piece was covering half of the other. So we wanted to find a new way to have the textile, each piece just near the other. So we developed a very intelligent, I think, elastic system to link the piece together. It's always very difficult to do more or less the same thing that you've done before, but in a cheaper way. It's always terrible. Here, I think we solve it quite well because it's something totally different. It has a very interesting aspect. It's a lot of facet. It's working well in huge quantity. It's working well in a small quantity. It's quite easy to assemble. And this has a quite interesting success. It's still a bit expensive, but so I think this project is a good synthesis maybe of some interesting research that we've done before. But because it's really a product and really something that is easy, it was used for another place. In front you've got this, don't seem to be sympathetic, but which is sympathetic at the end, sort of, sorry, a sort of sofa which is seems to have a big muscle, but it's the comfort is very, very interesting. For economic reason, very often when pieces like that are done, it's made by two layers of textile with foam inside, and it's sewn in a machine. But this has a certain limit because it means that you can't have more than 6 or 7 centimeters of foam. Here, the two pieces of textile are sewed together It's elastic textile, and after the sewing, each pocket it's open, and they insert a piece of foam inside. So it's why there is this sort of very specific aspect. It's a nightmare in terms of cost, but it's quite interesting object anyhow, I think. Exactly 1 year ago, I was in a very freezing part of the world, in Japan. We were invited by the Japanese government to work with some craftsmen, some laker, some people who work with wood and laker is correct in English. Laker it. So. What is very interesting is that in Japan, when you enter in a carpenter atelier, you have to take out your shoes. So it's really it expresses very well the level of the level of you understand me, I think. So we produce 5 pieces, which. It was very difficult because we were invited, Erwan was not able to come, so I spent a week to meet different people, to decide with them who we will work with, and we were by contract obliged to send some drawing very quickly, and the craftsman was obliged by contract to produce a piece very quickly. And when you know that the special painting need at minimum at least two months to be dry, it was everything was a bit of a nightmare. But I think there is a certain charm in this object. So it was very interesting because there was no way to dialogue except with drawing. They really don't speak English at all. And as they don't know how to say no, it's very, very complicated to work with Japanese people. No, it's we had a terrible story because during 2 years we worked for Seiko, the watches company, and because Issey Miyake wanted to have Seiko, wanted to have what do you say, watch, yeah, and. So Seiko were very, very prone to work with Issey Miyake, and so as Issey Miyake wanted us as designers, they had to work with us. And we did a project. It was certainly an idiot project, but there was a very big technical problem. It was impossible to do, but they didn't find a way to explain us that it was a bad idea. So during 2 years, we worked around something, and it was, and they step after step made it badly, and we understand just at the end of it that it was because they never tried a way to explain us that it was not possible. The quality of the, not of the piece, but of the material, of the way it's done, it's really, really incredible. It's almost finished. There is 2 projects. This was a pocket mirror, and when you consider it's just piece of wood which are just stick together. it's really incredible the quality of details they are able to produce. As I said before, sometimes the dream of a designer is to try to do a very affordable chair, and the best way for that is to do it in plastic, if possible in one shot. We were always very intriguing by all this 19th century old cast chair, which has a sort of vegetal motif, and we wanted to. We exactly start to do this project after the algae. We wanted to find a way to build a chair in this sort of interesting geometry of branches. We spent four years. It's very complicated to explain why it took 4 years, but it was 1,000 drawing, a lot of mock-up, a lot of prototype. Vitra had to invest in a mold of, I think it was around 700,000. No, what did you say? 700,000 euro. To do it. It's massive, it's big as a stage. It's a result, and I've no distance about it. It was it has been launched in 1 year ago. It was a massive work, and so it's very difficult for me to consider if it's a good project or not. But it's a stacking chair, which is complicated to do. I think there is something. This was taken in Paris 2 weeks ago. It was snowing. And yeah, I hope it will work. It's a small movie that we did for launching this chair. We do all the pictures that you've seen have been more or less taken by ourselves, and we really like to play with a lot of different medium. At lunch it was Ims Demetrios speaking about the Ims, but we take care of everything more or less as they done. It's a big influence for us, their way of working. So we work with musicians to have the exact sound. It was a very... We really take care of the project for me, the project is finished when the picture is good and when everything has been done to help it to exist. I'm sorry to speak on this delicate music, but I have to explain. Thank you. Just the last thing, I think what is very important for designer, for a lot of creative situation, for the people in general, is the doubt. I think, I don't know if it's a good word in English, but in French we say the doute. It's very important to have a lot of doubt, I think, because it's what makes that you don't annoying yourself so much and the other. So it's very important to make your work growing in a way to be not so sure and so proud of what you do. I think it's a good method to continue.